Okay. All right. Hello, Muscle Nation. This is Myles Kellam, and today I'm interviewing Devin Gage. Devin is the founder of Gage Strength Training, located in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's the author of several fitness and nutrition books, and you may have spotted Devin on television and online as well. Devin's gym, Gage Strength Training, is known as a little gym with a big heart. They have an ongoing commitment to the community, and they involve a tremendous amount of fundraising on a month-by-month basis for local charitable groups and organizations and helping other gym members. It's a really impressive outfit that you've got going, Dev. So before we get into the interview questions, I'm going to throw one out, curveball for you. What was the last meal you ate today?
The last meal that I ate was actually halibut. It was grilled halibut, and that was really it. My lunch was plain grilled halibut with I have a mango habanero seasoning that I put on it.
That's fantastic. That sounds really good.
Yeah, it was really just I do intermittent fasting, so I usually go really light for breakfast or no breakfast, and pretty light lunch and dinner in the afternoons is when I kind of get the majority of my calories in.
All right, that's different. I mean, for me, I have set meals. I've got to have 8 square a day. Whether it doesn't matter whether I'm bulking or cutting. I need to have those to keep my metabolism going. Tell me a little bit about your experiences with intermittent fasting.
So we get a lot of questions of this in the gym, and I'm not one of the intermittent fasting people that believe in all the magical benefits of fasting, because the research and the science really doesn't back that.
Yeah.
I really think it comes down to preference. So first and foremost, I'm very rarely hungry first thing in the morning. So it's very easy for me to get up and just get my day started. I drink black coffee and just jump right into my day. So I do black coffee. I do some supplements with that. And then I'm just not hungry. The other thing is, I'm not really interested in putting on a ton of muscle right now. It's just not where my training has been. So I'm really just interested in maintaining and staying lean. So I need to be in a calorie deficit. So in order for me to do that, I would rather eat 2 big meals than eat, 4 smaller meals. So I can eat about 2,800 to 3,500 calories a day and still kind of maintain. So I'd rather put that into bulk, mash those calories into 2 bigger meals rather than a bunch of smaller meals, which require a lot more discipline and, makes me,
I hear what you're saying. It does. It requires a lot more discipline. It requires a lot more time. There's a lot more prep involved. My feeling is, kind of the reverse. I've always had the best results no matter what I'm trying to do with my body when I have frequent meals.
Right.
Whether that means having small frequent meals or having larger or changing the proportion depending upon what I'm doing. For me, it's always worked to kind of, split them up. And I always kind of go back to that idea of the sumo wrestler who has one huge meal for breakfast and that's it for the entire day.
Some people call that the panda diet.
Yeah, exactly.
Eat a massive amount of calories in one meal. And, there's a lot of conflicting research in terms of, the best diet for fat loss or carbs and fats and ratios. And the one thing is very consistent is, especially for building muscle, you do want to have a consistent intake of protein and calories throughout the day. And again, if that was my goal right now, if I was really focused on that, then I would, kind of force feed myself breakfast, protein shake, lunch, protein shake, dinner. But now, I just kind of eat more calories in a single sitting on lunch and dinner.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you're also a really busy guy.
Right.
So, we're talking about nutrition and, there's no one size fits all type of solution. You got to play around with it. You have to learn about yourself and your body and how your body reacts and how your body adapts to food. But let's say we have somebody who comes into your gym and you're sitting down with them, because I know you have one-on-one consultations at the very beginning. You want to learn about them. You want to learn about their goals. So what's the most important advice that you can give to someone who wants to improve their nutrition?
So, I mean, we always, meet them where they're at. So most of the people that I work with are kind of newbies to fitness and nutrition and anything at all. So the very first thing that I ask them to do is bring awareness to everything that they're eating.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask, so it's always funny how it goes, because I'll sit down with somebody and I'll say, well, walk me through a typical day of eating. And they're like, well, I'll eat, cereal for breakfast or an egg or two, and lunch is a salad, dinner is, a protein, carb, and a vegetable. And I'm like, that's it? And they're like, yeah, I don't eat too bad. And they're usually pretty overweight. And I'm like, well, and the question that always gets them is like, well, where do you feel like you fall off track? And they're
Right.
like, oh, well, I eat a pint of ice cream every night,
Yeah.
or I snack constantly on candy. And I'm like, all right, well, you should have included that in your, walk me through a day of your diet if you do that every day.
Right.
But really it's just kind of telling that people don't realize what they eat in a day. A lot of what we do is so subconscious that we don't even realize we're doing it. So you have to bring a lot of conscious awareness to what you're eating. So I tell people, just for that first week, track, weigh, and measure every single thing that you eat. So weigh it, measure it out, track it in a journal or use an app, and really bring very, very conscious awareness. Like if you use cooking oil, I want to know exactly how much you're using, because typically people use 2 to 3 times as much as they think they do. If you eat a handful of nuts, I want to know exactly how much that weighs, because typically you might think that you're eating 1 serving, but it's really 4 actual servings.
Yeah.
So those are like the little things that add thousands of calories that people don't even realize every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. So you brought up something there, sugar. And I will tell you, in my own personal experiences, I get addicted to sugar like you wouldn't believe. And I've written about this in some of the articles. When I was training for the Lehigh Valley Classic last year, and I was going from having wine, I like wine. I'm not a hard alcohol drinker. Some guys are, like, well, you can have vodka. I can't. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
But having a glass of wine is something that I do enjoy. The first about 10 to 14 days was awful. 10 to 14 days where it was like, all right, time to get serious, contest prep, got to eliminate the alcohol. It was rough because every evening around 5 o'clock, I'd have these absolutely insatiable cravings for food.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me that I wasn't addicted to the alcohol. I was addicted to the sugar.
Right.
This like fast acting, super high glycemic index food drink was hitting my system so fast that it didn't matter if I sat there and I ate 32 ounces of steak and a few baked potatoes. I was still going to be hungry because it just wasn't hitting my system fast enough.
Right.
For me, that's the danger, and that's why, for the most part now, I just don't drink anymore.
Yeah. Well, and there's also a lot of people can develop these process addictions where, you develop habits based on your environment and based on external environmental triggers. So
Yeah.
you may have had a time of day every, maybe it's 5 p.m. or whenever you sit down for dinner that you've kind of, you relax and you pour a glass of wine, and just that whole environment becomes very addicting, and it just becomes I don't like the word subconscious, but a non-conscious habit. And you start to crave that. And I think that's where a lot of people get into trouble, is when they develop these environmental triggers. And, a really powerful way to break that is to change your environment. Get rid of the wine from the house, or move it to a different part of the house, or sit down in a different chair.
Yeah.
Your brain starts to associate certain environments with certain behaviors and stimulus. So, so that, along with the sugar that fires your brain up, can make a really, really powerful negative habit.
Yeah. When I cut that out, about 3 to 4 weeks later, all of a sudden, I was getting stronger. I was sleeping better. Inflammation throughout my body was down. I was losing weight and gaining muscle during contest prep, which is almost never heard of.
Yeah.
It's amazing the impact that alcohol and sugar in particular has on your body.
Yeah. And there's, you'll talk to a lot of people that think sugar is fine, but, especially when it comes to alcohol, I mean, it is such a powerful drug in what it does to your body in a sense of, the calories are one thing, the sugar is one thing, but it really negatively affects your quality of sleep.
Yeah.
And even one drink can really impact your quality of sleep. And when you don't sleep, your hunger hormones, your ghrelin and leptin are totally thrown off the next day. So you're way more hungry. You don't feel satiated as well. You don't have as much willpower. You're not able to resist certain foods. So it just turns into this, you turn catabolic, it's this vicious cycle that starts with one drink at night.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. So back to the person who comes into your gym. All right. It's so easy to fall into a negative mindset, and like many of us, myself included, you start feeling bad. You start feeling sorry for yourself, and then you feel bad that you're feeling sorry for yourself, and it seems like it's this cycle. How do you help someone who's got that negative mindset?
Well, there's a couple things. So first thing is getting a really strong grip on your goal and why you want to accomplish that. Because if you don't have a really strong why or a really strong reason for, why you're doing what you're doing, you want to anchor that to something that's really personal to you, really emotional and really strong. So just losing weight or looking a little bit better is never going to be a really powerful anchor to bring you back to that goal. So you want to tie it to, how is this going to, the legacy that you leave for your children, the energy that you have, or how much life is in your years. Those are powerful things that you can attach to that 20-pound, 30-pound weight loss goal. And an analogy that I really liked, and you being a New Yorker, you might appreciate is, life is almost like you're on a New York City subway, right? Every time the train picks up, it pulls you this way. And every time it slows down, it pulls you back this way. And you always have to grab that handhold to kind of anchor yourself. So whenever you're in a good mood or a bad mood, it pulls you in these different directions, or you're feeling really positive, you're motivated, or you have a bad day, it pulls you back here. As long as you can have something really powerful and sturdy to kind of recenter yourself and anchor yourself, that's kind of the first step, is just generating that and putting it in front of you and making sure it's well known in your life.
Absolutely.
And the next thing is, what I tell my clients is you're always one step away, one decision away from back on track. So, imagine how much excitement there is on somebody's first day going to the gym or first day on a diet. They're really motivated. They're really excited. There's all this potential and all this possibility in front of them. And then they have, they do a couple of weeks and they have a bad meal and they fall off track. They're really down about themselves. And they're just like, what's the point? I'm never going to do this, whatever. The next meal, if they decide to have one good meal or one good workout, they are right back physically to where they were on day one. And remember how positive they were on day one.
Yeah.
That next meal puts you right back there, right back in that same position where all this potential, all these possibilities are still in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's just remembering that you are one decision away from back on track, no matter how far off track you really feel.
Mm-hmm. Is it okay to give yourself permission to have that cheat meal?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple things with that. So one, I'm not a fan of completely restricting yourself by any means. Because I think a lot of studies show this, when you do completely restrict yourself, you end up obsessing about that thing. Mm-hmm. So what I like to do is kind of set landmarks. Is if, you've got a 100-pound weight loss goal, right? And you just say like, all right, no cheat meals until I lose 100 pounds. You're just going to go completely insane.
Yeah.
But if you say, all right, it's Monday, on Friday night at dinner, I'm going to eat whatever I want, or go out and have a cheat meal. That makes it a lot easier to just say on Tuesday, be like, all right, only 8 more meals or only 15 more meals, kind of creating a light at the end of the tunnel can be really powerful. And just, all right, let's get to that checkpoint. All right, we're here, and just reset that checkpoint.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, having that, one, metabolically, it can be good for you to kind of have a refeed, but psychologically, you have to give yourself forgiveness. Another thing that's really powerful, and this comes from cognitive behavioral psychology, is what I call the guilt cycle. And so what happens is, somebody does something that makes them feel guilty, right? So let's say they binge eat, or they go off their diet, or they miss a workout, right? So then that spins them to, I feel really guilty, right? So what your brain does when it feels bad is it starts to think, all right, well, I feel bad. What's going to make me feel better?
Yeah.
And then it starts thinking, well, food or leisure or whatever makes me feel good because of sugar and dopamine and all this. So then you continue to eat junk.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad again because you just made it even worse. So the key to getting out of that cycle is removing the guilt. Because if you don't have the guilt, then you don't have anything to resolve and make you feel better again.
Right.
So all you got to do is remove the guilt and just say, you know what? I cheated. I did it. It's fine. Love yourself enough to you're human, and move on in a positive mindset.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And play in so many different areas of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when I think it's also important to set expectations. And I've got a friend of mine I've known since college. He and I used to play rugby together. He's had just absolutely crazy busy schedule, and he's kind of hasn't had a chance to feel like he's eaten well. Struggled with his weight a bit, and then he's had 2 really devastating injuries. He's torn separate times, has torn each of his Achilles tendons.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah. I mean, one of them, he was, he heard it. He heard the pop, and, and he had surgery, and he gained a bit of weight, and he was losing weight now, and he was doing a phenomenal job. And, he's out of state, he's a distance, so I can't train with him like the way that we used to when we were in college. And so he's asked for a little bit of advice. I'm, giving it to him. One of the things that I think was surprising to him was, when he told me his week to week weight loss, and he was doing great. And, he didn't know how to feel about the fact that he had lost 3 pounds this past week. And I was saying, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect, because any more than that, and you would probably be losing more muscle than fat. And, so do you sit down, do you, have expectations and set expectations with your clients?
Yeah, we do as much as we can. That's a really, really difficult thing for a lot of people to grasp and to, I think, come to terms with. Because first of all, there's a lot of really bad information and really bad advertising out there in terms of health and fitness supplements and things that'll tell you you'll drop 10 pounds in a week.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people have been brainwashed to believe that that's perfectly healthy. And, it's just not the case. So there's a couple things with this. We have an in-body scan that you've used, and it, gives a fairly accurate reading of body fat percentage.
Right.
Body fat percentage can be really discouraging because it can come really incrementally, and that's not very exciting. So somebody that needs to lose 100 pounds, if they lose 1 pound of body fat, that might be 0.1 pound or 0.1% lost on their thing, and they could have worked really hard and felt like they made all this progress, but 0.1% is just really discouraging. So
yeah,
I think getting really good metrics for performance metrics, right? Resting heart rate, how you feel doing certain exercises is really important.
Yeah.
But in terms of weight loss, looking at the big picture, right? So if you lose 3 pounds in a week, that's 150 pounds in a year. And
right.
Just reminding them hey, would you be happy if you lost 150 pounds this year? And they may either say, no, well, I'd disintegrate, or they like, yeah, that would be great. So then it's like, all right, then you're on track for that.
Right.
With just 2 to 3 pounds a week, you're on track for that amazing transformation. So just kind of, not miss the forest for the trees.
Yep. Yep. And I think tracking as well. This mere tracking, one of the things that as the Muscle Nation YouTube channel grows and we're able to go back into the gym, we're able to start working out. I put videos in there. One of the things that I want to do for my viewers is to always start with my workout video with saying, okay, I'm, as you know, I'm 5'10", and here's how much I weigh. Because there's such a challenge in being able to view oneself, and you're naturally inclined to compare yourself to others. And I know when I watch some of the bodybuilders and fitness gurus that I really think do a great job, John Meadows, Jeff Nippard, some of the other guys, and you look at them, you're like, okay, I've met you in person, so I know you're, it's like, John, listen, I know you're shorter than I am, and so, your muscles are more compact, and right now you weigh more than me, but even when I weigh the same amount as you, my muscles are still stretched out more than yours are. It's very difficult to look at a video and know. So I'm going to go first. So I'm 5'10". This morning I weighed myself and I was 212.5 pounds. My goal right now, I'm bulking. I'm not in contest prep, and as a competitive bodybuilder, I'm pretty light for where I am in bulking. My goal is not a number; it's more of an aesthetic. I will probably by the end of July be somewhere in the 220 to 225 range,
right.
And and then by October I'll probably be in the 195 range, and and I want to give the viewers a sense of, hey, here's how big these guys are that they're looking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you comfortable sharing your sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've my training has been really lax and I've been kind of slacking lately. So right now I'm about 220 and I'm 5'9" on a good day. But I would like to get back down to about 205. So my body fat percentage right now is probably about 18% according to the InBody. I'd like to be around like 13, 14%.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my goal. So I imagine I've actually really dialed in my nutrition in the last 2-3 weeks. I haven't weighed myself this week, but I could probably get down 15 pounds in about 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah. And just to give our viewers a sense of understanding when you're talking about body fat percentage and composition, for guys, particularly for athletically built guys, if you are around, anywhere, I would say from 8 to 12% body fat, those are the guys who are looking really good on the beach. If you are, let's say, 6 to 8%, you're looking pretty ripped. For people who compete, when you step on stage, you're typically around 3 to 4% body fat,
right.
And that is not sustainable. That should not be a fitness goal. That is a competitive goal, and it's not the type of thing that you can maintain for very long. So when we're talking about nutrition and we're talking about living a healthy life, there are extremes to this. Right. And when you see videos of guys who are working out, the pros, they film those videos leading up to the day of the contest and shortly thereafter. Right? This is when they're in the peak. You, for the most part, except for just a few exceptions, like Dexter Jackson, whose nickname is the Blade, except for a few exceptions, These guys in the off season, they just look big. You're not going to see what you see when you're watching them on YouTube.
And they'll tell you, when they're doing those video shoots and on stage, they're not happy. They're completely miserable.
No, it's not a happy time. It's not a happy time. In fact, one of the things that Cynthia is thinking about doing is writing an article on what to expect and how to deal with your spouse or significant other when they're training for a competition. and it's true. It's pretty brutal, and it's not sustainable. You need to have body fat. But getting back to the point I was kind of leaning towards before, you also need to have an expectation of what you're looking at and what you can achieve. And beyond that, you can't rely on numbers and you can't rely on photographs. And a photograph is simply a two-dimensional representation of a 3D object, right? It flattens things out. It doesn't give the depth. Sometimes it doesn't give the width. It's really difficult to be able to tell these things. And as Devin, as you pointed out, the weight, the height, they may mean one thing, but there's a lot more in terms of composition than that. Right. What I would say to everybody is, you need to feel good. At the end of the day, it's about how you feel. And yeah, we talk a lot about our bodies, we talk a lot about fitness, and and a lot of that leans towards how do you look. But you got to remove the look from the equation. It's got to come out. At a certain point, you need to feel good about what you've achieved, and you need to feel good about just living a healthy life.
A lot of times weight loss is a side effect of feeling really good.
Yeah.
When you're moving better, you're eating better, you've got more energy, and all of these things result in calorie burn, increased calorie expenditure that result in weight loss. So it's, if your focus is performance and, performing a certain task really well or having as much energy as possible, then that's probably going to result in weight loss anyway, and fat loss.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing, I really try to emphasize muscle growth rather than weight loss. And, and a lot of people who may not be familiar with the topic think, oh, you can convert one into the other. You can. Fat cells don't become muscle cells. Fat deposits don't become muscle. What you want to be able to do is to have the bigger engine. And, a V12 burns a whole lot more fuel per mile than a V6. Right. And so, if you work on building the muscles, you'll burn more calories quicker.
Right.
And, we'll go into it another time, but you don't have to worry about all of a sudden looking like the Hulk.
Right.
That isn't the kind of thing that happens when you train in the gym.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, really. So do I. But when you look at certain bodybuilders and you have the videos that are playing in the gym and you look at them, a lot of these guys, they don't hit their peak until their mid-30s.
Yeah.
They've been training for 15, 20 years, specifically training to put on mass, eating and training, and that is it for decades before they're able to look the way that they look.
There's definitely something to that, like maturity of the muscle. Like you can just see the density, or you see some young bodybuilders that are really built and really genetically gifted, but there's still something missing. Like there's some density or there's some thickness that they just don't have that some older guys have.
Yeah, you look at guys like Regan Grimes, right? Absolutely phenomenal aesthetics, absolutely incredible shape. But you look at him when he dives down for a competition, you're like, oh, he's going to be great in 7 years.
Yeah.
He's great now, but he's not in that top six.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do a shameless plug for Gage Strength Training.
All right. Yeah, we're in Westchester, Pennsylvania. We really focus on people over 40 and beginners to exercise, people that are looking to lose body fat, increase energy, and just feel good. So if you're looking for group and small group personal training, you can give us a shout.
All right, fantastic. Thanks, Devin. Great wisdom and great motivation and great tips. And if you're looking for additional information on Gage Strength Training, go to gagestrengthtraining.com. And I bet you if you look out there, you'll find some additional fitness videos from Devin online.
Yep.
All right, Deb. Thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
No problem.
All right, Muscle Nation. We'll see you next time.